I think it came with new public management, really, and with a kind of, sort of an attempt to reduce the size of the state, to rather than the state being kind of the place where all services kind of came from. There was and I was in Canada at that time. There was quite significant restructuring. So a lot of services that used to be delivered by the Canadian government, for example, the federal government, were contracted out. And I think part of this was about reducing the unionized workforce. It was about saving money. It was about, you could certainly argue that some of it was about more nimble, community responsive service. But in that whole process of contracting out services, I think there was a sense that the third sector was kind of the right partner. The services certainly went to, in Canada, they certainly went to the private sector as well. And certainly that was the case in the UK. But there was a real sort of sense that the third sector could be the delivery arm of the government. And that was very much the case here in sort of and even before New Labour, certainly under the sort of the Conservative years, Thatcher years, there was increasing contracting out of services going to community third sector organisations. But I think in that whole process, there was a sort of sense that third sector organisations needed to kind of clean up their act a little bit, because maybe a bit too informal, not professional enough. There needed to be accountabilities. And so increasingly with contracts, there were requirements for particular types of policies and procedures, and, audits were done. And, so some of that was sort of what the third sector agreed to in a way, in terms of taking on government contracts, is that there are, then a requirement to deliver in particular ways. And I don't think that's all bad. I just think we need to be careful how much we're pulled towards that. I guess it's that whole argument around isomorphism, right? So you start to become shaped by by the kind of the forces around you. And so a lot of what you do is shaped by government contracts. You start to increasingly look like what the government contract needs you to be, as opposed to saying, no, if you're interested in contracting, that's great, but this is who we are and this is what we look like and this is how we work with our community. So I think navigating all of that is really difficult. And to me, that's much more important leadership than I know how to get government contracts.